Let me ask you something. What if I told you there's a cybersecurity role in India that pays up to 30 lakh per year, without social media hype, without bug bounty fame, and without being a public hacker? A role that operates quietly, but sits at the core of enterprise security. Today, I'm not going to name the company. I'm not going to name the job title, because this video is not about applying. This video is about understanding a level of cybersecurity that most people never even see. If you are serious about long-term growth in security, stay till the end. Why application security is paying this much? Cybersecurity has changed. Attacks no longer start with networks. They start with applications. Web applications, mobile applications, APIs. Every company today runs on software, and software runs on applications exposed to the internet. Most real-world breaches happen because input validation failed, authentication was broken, authorization logic was weak, APIs exposed sensitive data, firewalls didn't fail, VPNs didn't fail, applications failed. That's why application security is no longer optional, it's a business requirement. And when something becomes critical to business, companies stop negotiating on cost. What this role actually does. Let's clear a misconception. This is not a role where you sit all day running scanners. This is an ownership role. At this level, you are responsible for leading application security testers, planning security assessments, deciding testing depth and scope, reviewing findings for accuracy, ensuring vulnerabilities are fixed, communicating risk to leadership. You don't just find issues, you decide what matters. And that responsibility is why this role exists. Types of applications you deal with. At senior levels, you don't test demo apps. You deal with enterprise web platforms, large mobile applications, internal admin systems, high-traffic APIs, third-party integrations. These systems are complex. You must understand authentication flows, role-based access, session management, business logic, back-end workflows. This is where most junior pen testers struggle, because tools don't understand business logic. Humans do. Tools are expected, not impressive. Let's be honest, at this level, tools do not impress anyone. They are assumed. You are expected to be comfortable with web testing tools, API testing platforms, vulnerability scanners, assessment frameworks. But your value is not tool usage. Your value is judgment, knowing when automation is enough, manual testing is required, findings are false positives, risks are overestimated. Tools find data, you find meaning. Programming and automation expectation. This role assumes you understand code, not as a full-time developer, but enough to read back-end logic, understand data flow, write scripts for automation, and validate security findings. Languages don't matter. Concepts matter. If you understand how APIs process requests, how tokens are validated, how errors expose information, you're building the right foundation. Security framework thinking. At senior levels, you stop thinking in individual vulnerabilities. You start thinking in systems. You align security with development lifecycles, internal risk frameworks, testing standards, remediation workflows. Your goal is not to find more issues. Your goal is to reduce future risk. That's leadership. Who this role is not for. This role is not for everyone. It is not for freshers, tool-only testers, people who avoid documentation, people who dislike communication, people who want only technical work. You can be a great hacker and still fail here, because this role demands responsibility, not just skill. The career path that leads here. Nobody wakes up in this role. Most people reach it after years of application testing, security reviews, incident analysis, stakeholder discussions, repeated learning. This is not a shortcut career. It's a long-term security journey. Why companies pay for this role? Because mistakes here are expensive. A missed vulnerability can lead to financial loss, legal issues, customer trust damage. Companies don't pay for effort, they pay for risk reduction, and experienced application security leaders reduce uncertainty. That's why compensation increases. Transition to extended content. If you understand everything up to this point, you already see why very few people reach this level. In the next section, we go deeper into decision-making, leadership pressure, vulnerability management, communication realities. This is where the role becomes real. At senior levels in cybersecurity, your job is no longer to find everything that is broken. Your job is to decide what matters most. You evaluate how easy something is to exploit, how exposed the application is, what data is at risk, What happens if the issue is abused? Two vulnerabilities can look identical on paper and still have completely different real-world impact. Understanding this difference is what separates testers from leaders. Reality of vulnerability management. Finding vulnerabilities is easy. Managing them is hard. At this level, you're responsible for prioritizing issues, tracking remediation, coordinating retesting, and confirming proper closure. You must ensure vulnerabilities don't get ignored, don't remain open for months, and don't return in future releases. Security is not about finding issues once, it's about making sure they don't come back. Communicating security to non-security teams. One of the hardest skills in this role has nothing to do with hacking. It's communication. You must explain security risks to developers, project managers, business owners, and leadership teams. If people don't understand why something matters, they won't fix it. At this level, your words carry more impact than your tools. Working with developers, not against them. Security does not succeed by blocking progress. It succeeds by enabling safe progress. Junior security professionals often fight developers. Senior ones collaborate. You learn development timelines, delivery pressures, and technical constraints. You suggest fixes that are realistic, not idealistic. When developers trust security, security becomes part of the process. Secure development lifecycle responsibility. At leadership level, security is not a final checkpoint. It is part of the entire lifecycle. You influence design reviews, architecture discussions, threat modeling, and pre-release approvals. This reduces emergency fixes, late-stage surprises, and production incidents. Security moves left, and risk moves down. API security realities. Modern applications rely heavily on APIs. APIs are exposed, fast-changing, heavily trusted, and often poorly protected. At this level, you must understand authentication mechanisms, authorization flaws, rate-limiting issues, and excessive data exposure. API security failures rarely make noise early, but when they explode, they cause massive damage. Mobile application security depth. Mobile security is often misunderstood. Mobile apps are only the surface. The real risk lives in back-end APIs, cloud services, and third-party integrations. At this level, you ensure sensitive data is protected, communication channels are secure, and reverse engineering risks are addressed. Mobile breaches spread fast and are hard to contain. Handling false positives and noise. Security tools generate noise. Lots of it. At leadership level, your job is to protect focus. You filter false positives, low-impact issues, and duplicate findings. Treating everything as critical burns out teams. Good leaders create clarity. Incident learning without blame. No security program is perfect. Incidents will happen. What matters is response. At this level, you analyze root causes, improve controls, and strengthen processes, not by blame, but by learning. Blame creates fear. Learning creates resilience. Staying relevant in a changing threat landscape. Threats evolve constantly. Senior security leaders don't chase trends, they study patterns. They understand emerging attack vectors, shifts in attacker behavior, and new exploitation techniques. Relevance comes from awareness, not panic. Pressure and responsibility. This role comes with pressure. Deadlines, escalations, high expectations. When something goes wrong, people look to you. This is not a role for constant anxiety. It's a role for calm decision-making. Those who thrive here are steady under pressure. What separates good from great? Good leaders manage vulnerabilities. Great leaders improve systems. They reduce repeat issues, raise security maturity, build strong teams, and create lasting impact. They leave organizations stronger than they found them. Mentorship and team building. At this level, your influence multiplies through people. You mentor junior testers, growing engineers, and future leaders. A well-trained team outperforms any single expert. Leadership is about scale. Long-term career stability. Application security leadership is not a temporary role. As long as software exists, this role remains critical. That's why it offers stability, respect, and long-term growth. It's a career built on fundamentals, not trends. Security is a business function, not a tool set. At senior levels, cybersecurity stops being a technical department. It becomes a business function. Security decisions influence product timelines, customer trust, compliance posture, financial risk. You are no longer protecting systems alone, you're protecting business continuity. This mindset shift is critical. If you still think only in vulnerabilities, you will never reach this level. Risk ownership versus risk awareness. Junior professionals are risk aware. Senior leaders are risk owners. There is a difference. Risk ownership means accepting trade-offs, approving exceptions, documenting decisions, and standing behind outcomes. Sometimes you allow risk, sometimes you delay fixes, sometimes you block releases, and every decision has consequences. That responsibility is why this role exists. Thinking in attack chains, not bugs. At this level, you don't look at issues in isolation. You think in attack chains. You ask how one weakness leads to another, how low-severity issues combine, how attackers pivot through systems. A single bug might be harmless. A chain of bugs becomes a breach. This ability comes only from experience. Why pure automation fails at scale. Automation is useful, but automation alone is dangerous. At scale, scanners miss logic flaws, tools misclassify risk, alerts overwhelm teams. Senior leaders know when to trust automation, override automation, redesign automation. Tools assist judgment, they never replace it. Governance without killing speed. Enterprise security is a balancing act. Too much governance slows delivery. Too little governance invites chaos. At this level, you design lightweight controls, practical review processes, and enforceable standards. The goal is not perfection. The goal is repeatable security. Dealing with repeated mistakes. One of the most frustrating realities in senior security roles is seeing the same mistakes repeat. Same vulnerabilities, same patterns, same root causes. Leadership means asking why fixes didn't stick, why lessons weren't learned, why processes failed. Fixing people doesn't scale. Fixing systems does. Handling escalations and critical moments. At some point, every security leader faces escalation. A production issue, a leaked report, an exposed endpoint. In these moments, panic spreads fast, information is incomplete, and pressure is intense. Your value here is calm. You slow things down so the right decisions can be made. Security strategy versus daily operations. Daily operations keep security running. Strategy keeps security alive long-term. At this level, you must balance immediate findings, long-term improvements, team capacity, and organizational priorities. If you only focus on today, tomorrow repeats today's problems. Education as a security control. One of the most underrated controls in cybersecurity is education, not training once, but continuous learning. Senior leaders invest in developer awareness, secure coding habits, and design-level thinking. An educated team produces fewer vulnerabilities than any tool ever will. Trust is your strongest asset. At senior levels, people don't follow your tools, they follow your judgment. Trust is built when your findings are accurate, your priorities make sense, and your communication is fair. Lose trust once and security becomes noise. Protect it. Scaling security without burnout. Security teams burn out easily. Too many alerts, too much blame, too little impact. Leadership means protecting your team, setting realistic goals, and saying no when needed. Burned out teams don't protect anything. Why this role survives industry shifts. Technologies change, frameworks change, but applications remain. As long as software exists, someone must secure it. That's why this role survives layoffs, adapts to trends, and remains in demand. It's built on fundamentals, not hype cycles. At the highest level, titles stop mattering. Legacy does. Did security improve because you were there? Did teams grow stronger? Did incidents reduce? That is how success is measured. Quietly, internally, permanently. If this breakdown helped you understand what real application security leadership looks like, then support this channel. Like the video, it helps more people find it. Share it with someone serious about cybersecurity, and subscribe to deep, real-world security content. And comment your level, beginner, mid-level, senior, so the next video can be built exactly for you.